Welcome, everybody.
Flying in traffic. Welcome back to our show.
Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, I feel like it's been a while. It hasn't really been too long. We just did our update one. I feel like we're doing the podcast every day. We're just not actually making new podcasts.
Yeah, we're working on things and investigating and reading. It's really, really cool. I love it. Today, we're going to touch on a subject that we have, talked about throughout the episodes, but we just kind of wanted to do a whole episode about what it's like to be in a doomsday cult and to live the apocalyptic type of life.
Yeah. So we're going to pick Tony's brain today about just what it's like to think the world is about to end and how that affects all of the things.
This is one I've been excited to do, but also like I know it's going to be a hard one to talk about. It's a heavy subject, It's something that is I don't know. You hear doomsday cult or like, Christians think or know, quote unquote, that the end of the world is coming. But like to actually be part of a group that believes without a doubt that you are going to see the end of the world in your lifetime and that you're going to be part of it, right?
And not only
Um,
in your lifetime, but in your church, it was like, this is the date and the year.
right. An exact date. So like you have an exact date that For us it was, 2012
Yeah.
for a long time.
And
Um,
can we touch on that and maybe with
yeah.
permission share a video of the 1999 prediction from the same church?
Right. There was also a 1988 prediction.
Yeah, 1988, 1999, and 2012.
2012. So this church that I was in
Year
has
2005 too.
I've seen that on the internet. I don't really remember that. But see, I was baptized in 2006, so how would I
Yeah.
know?
So you came
But
in, yeah.
anyway, I want to just start off by just it's hard to express what it's like to have that kind of thought process that seriously the world is ending in 2012 and there is no doubt about it. It is as real to you that the world is ending. It's as real to you as if the sky is blue. It is your reality. And it's almost like you can't even express in words what it feels like. It's like a feeling, like you just know, you're just so confident and you just know that the world is ending. And from the minute that you start your Bible study, they're immediately talking about the last days. We're living in the last days. Have you seen the news? Have you seen what's happening? Have you seen the wars? Have you seen the famines? Have you seen the earthquakes? Have you seen, the droughts and the disasters and the fires and all these things? And they stack up. And then every single day you're studying about it. And they even have these little books. They're called evidence books. And they show all these, evidence of fires and wars and things that are happening, and they're getting worse, and wickedness is increasing. One of the signs of the last days is that there would be increase of wickedness. And like I think I feel sad. Like the past few days, I feel so sad after what happened in Texas,
Yeah.
and like
I could see that being re-triggering those kinds of events happening being
yeah.
re-triggering for you guys.
When you see that type of like quote unquote evil
Yeah.
in the world, that this can even happen, that this is such a reality in our country. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing, but it's just sad. It's just so sad. And anyway, so they would use cases like that or events like that to show like look how wicked things are becoming. This means father's coming soon, we need to work harder, we need to preach harder. It's just this constant propaganda, and so it becomes your reality. I remember there was one time we were so obsessed with earthquakes happening. Because the Bible talks about earthquakes. In the last days, there will be so many earthquakes. And so there's an earthquake app that you can get on your phone and it shows you all the earthquakes. Do you remember this?
No.
And I was obsessed. And so it would alert me every time there's an earthquake. You guys would be shocked how many earthquakes happen every single day. It is extremely stressful. And it shows you the magnitude, where it is, tsunami warnings, all this stuff that's happening all over the world.
You did get me all freaked out about Yellowstone erupting.
Yes, Yellowstone. So we would always watch videos about Yellowstone because, see, Denver is pretty close to Yellowstone. So that was something that we were always watching videos from like Discovery Channel about the ash that would fall, about, the fire and the climate change that would happen.
We're in the lava path, so we're going to be like the first ones to go.
But that was our reality. We were convinced that that was going to happen. And I do want to say thank you to my brother-in-law, Lindsay's husband, because one day I was just talking to him about Yellowstone. It was about coming out, and I was just talking to him like, but yeah, look, like Yellowstone might erupt. Like it's a high probability. Look at all these facts and these statistics. Look at all these earthquakes that happen here and all these hot spots and everything. And he was like, of course, they're going to use something that is so scary and, could possibly happen in, a million years or whatever, has a possibility of one day happening and is extremely scary. Of course, they're going to use something real to try to scare you, and that really hit me, like, yes, there are wars, and yes, there are diseases and coronavirus and, all these awful things that happen in the world, but that doesn't mean it's a sign from God that the world is going to end.
Yeah. See, you would tell me things and I'd be like, oh shit, now I got to worry about that. Because I was like, that's like a legit thing that could happen, but I don't think God is doing it. Now it's on my radar that there's a possibility that fucking Yellowstone's going to kill us all. So you would come at me like God's going to do this thing. And I'm like, well, oh shit, I didn't even know that was a possibility, but that is true. I guess Yellowstone could take us out.
But when you wake up every single day and you're studying, and not just studying, you're watching videos, very graphic videos of wars and, bombs and everything and Yellowstone erupting and all this stuff. When you're just constantly seeing that, it puts your body and your mind in this constant state of alert. Always be alert, always be on guard, always be ready to go. And that's what life was like every single day. And when that happens, it puts you in a bad, in it, your body is not in a healthy place because you can never relax ever.
Yeah.
There's no relaxation ever.
A lot of the books that we've been reading are about.
Right. So I wanted to talk about, we did an episode called Burnout. I think it was season 2, episode 7. And I hope you guys listen to that because we talked a lot about that constant state of stress and, those chemicals that get released in your body and how they're stored in your body and how we need to get them out. And so when you live in these doomsday cultic environments, these apocalyptic environments, it is very unhealthy. Yeah. It is very anxiety driven and very unhealthy. But I also think that it is part of the tactic of, of the cult, of the mind control, because it keeps you in a constant state of readiness. You're always ready to go. 2 a.m, you need to do a baptism. I'm ready to go. Somebody needs to study. We're ready to go. And it doesn't matter. You got your banker clothes ready and you are ready. And then they use the Bible, be ready, be prepared, don't be asleep when Father comes. And so that's just the mindset that you're constantly in. And so I just want you guys to understand what it's like from the inside. It's not just like, oh, we thought the world was going to end. Like, no, we believed the world was going to end. And people to this day still believe the world is going to end at any moment. And then when the world doesn't end, when there are failed prophecies, quote unquote prophecies, right? Mm-hmm. It makes people believe more.
Yeah.
And they have justifications, and there's more cognitive dissonance that gives them stronger faith. And so it's fascinating.
So it's like the opposite of what, as an outsider, you would be like, see, it didn't happen. Now you can come out. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, no, no. It didn't happen because we either prevented it or God wasn't ready or whatever reason it is that they give you guys.
It is so easy to look back and be like, oh, well, the world didn't end in 2012. Why didn't the church close then?
Yeah. From the outside, it's easy to say
Right.
that.
I didn't really start coming out until about 2015, 2016, like kind of started to slowly come out at that time. So, we stayed in for years. Years we stayed in after seeing, because there were excuses that were being made. So we were told, should we talk about this now? After 2012, we were told that, you know, well, first we were told that it wasn't really the end of 2012 yet. We needed to wait until the end of the sacred calendar. So then it would be, 2013. So then when that didn't happen, then we were told, we weren't ready yet. So Father had mercy on us and had pity on us. We weren't ready. We weren't fully, repentant yet. And we hadn't found all of our lost brothers and sisters. And so it was continuously put back on us that, that it was our fault.
Yeah.
And thanks to God that, we were given more time. And so now we need to work harder and harder and harder. But because you have this reality, there are certain life choices that are made. And as we've been interviewing our guests and meeting our friends from all over the world, you know, these real people are making these real life decisions that affect them for the rest of their lives.
Under
And
the idea that, yeah, they've got 6 months left, so it doesn't matter.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Even thinking that you have 2 years left or 3 years left, that's not a lot of time. Our leaders would always tell us it doesn't matter. Even if Father postpones, 1 year or 2 years, that's not a lot of time in the concept of, hundreds of years or thousands or, infinity time. You can work harder. You can work harder. You can push. You can push. You can push, even if it is only 2 or 3 years. So they would even confess, maybe you'll work, because they were preaching 2012, from 2009, from 2010. So we were preparing for years. So yeah, so I think it's cool if we kind of go through some of the life decisions that people are making based on apocalyptic beliefs. Is that cool? Does that sound good?
That's like so cool, bro.
Because you believe that there is no future on this planet. Your future is spiritual.
Yeah.
Okay? Like really Christians, okay, I say general Christians. I mean like, what people um believe as
Main,
normal mainstream Christianity.
mainstream Christianity.
They believe that they're going to go to heaven, but they don't like obsess over it every single day. They don't prepare for it every single day. You know what I mean? It's just sort of something that they think about and they comforts them for the future.
Yeah.
This is
Like
different.
when I die, whenever that is.
Right.
It's not like I got to get ready because this is going to happen like tomorrow.
These type of high demand groups, it's different. It's an everyday obsession. It's an everyday reality. The future is not real. Your future is in heaven. So you need to think about, eternity in heaven, and that's where your treasures will be. So that's what you need to work for. This earth is going to be burned. This earth is full of wickedness and evil spirits and earthquakes and disasters and heartache and,
I think for you coming out and being on the outside now, there's a lack of a protection emotionally for you when things like what happened in Texas happen. Because when you were in, I remember you having like a really, really almost like creepy reaction to bad things. You'd be like, did you see? Like almost in like an excited way, because for you guys, bad things meant like you guys are going to heaven sooner. And so when things awful would happen, I want to say Sandy Hook. I don't know if you remember if you were in the church during Sandy Hook. I feel like I remember having this conversation with you about Sandy Hook and you being almost like disconnected from it, like the things happening in reality, you were not digesting them the way that like you are now out of the church. So for you, I bet events that are happening, that have been happening for years. I mean, the shitty things happen like every single day. If you look, there's shitty things happening. But like Sandy Hook happened, and that was devastating for me. And at the time, your son, they were both in kindergarten at the time. And so that one, obviously, like,
that one was devastating, but I remember being,
yeah.
no, I remember being upset about that. And then I remember a leader telling me, like, don't worry about that. Like, that's just an evil man. And like they really did not, when it came to like stuff like that, like crime stuff like that, I personally did not feel any type of like sympathy about that type of situation. When the Aurora shooting happened in Colorado, we have been, struck by so many of this gun violence, and mental illness violence. But anyway, when the Aurora shooting happened, I recommended that we do an event, or something for those victims, because it was so, that happened, just a few miles away from where we were living at that time. I mean, that was somewhere that we were familiar with, that theater. And I was met with resistance from that leader, because that's not really a disaster type of relief that they would do. It's, they don't really go to rescue people who would be struck by some kind of psychopath. Do you know what I mean? Doing these kinds of crimes. And then later they did a blood drive, and they said that the blood drive was for the victims of that shooting.
But it was
And
not.
I was so mad, because I was like, we proposed an idea to do something to help these families, and then they didn't want to do it. And then later they did a blood drive, and then they claimed it was, for the victims of that tragedy. And I was like, it was never genuine, as we have talked about with so many people, because if you really believe the world is going to end, what's the point of doing these good volunteer works? Honestly, if you really believe the world is ending, then why are you trying to help them clean up after earthquakes and hurricanes and everything? Because you believe that's Bible prophecy. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
It's a cruel vantage point of humanity. So like immediately after you proposed, let's go and like do something for them. Like,
it wasn't immediately. It was like a little while after. There was a blood drive that we organized, that I helped organize. And that whole time that we organized, it was never talked about that it was going to be for that purpose. But then as soon as it was presented out to the public, all of a sudden it was for that tragedy. And it was like, that wasn't why you guys did this. You already had this blood drive planned. It wasn't like, I don't know. It just felt very not genuine. Because like I said, there's no reason for them to clean up the earth. They don't think the earth is going to be here much longer,
Yeah.
So when you live in this kind of way, it causes you to make really important life decisions in a way that you never would. Right? If you believe that you had a future on this earth.
Right.
So you're young, right? These are young college kids, and they are having to make huge life decisions around the time, you're dating, and, people are looking for marriage or having children and all these things, right? Where to live, where to go to school. And so because you are obsessed that the world is going to end, you just make a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah, or just decisions with like no longevity to them, like no care to them. Yeah.
Right. So the first thing I would say, like the first thing that they really pressure is immediate baptism. And so I would say the reason for that is because who knows when the world is going to end? You don't know. It could be now, because a lot of people are like, well, I should really go talk to my mom. I should really like maybe go talk to my pastor, think about it, pray about it for a while. Most people, that's what they want to do. I would say 90% of people, they want to take a minute and think about it. Yeah. But it's your job to save them immediately. So you need to pressure them into baptism right away. So that's when you take out your handy dandy evidence book and then you show them all the pictures. You show them, all the fires and everything. And it's scary. And you scare the crap out of them and they get baptized. And so right away, they're using that type of teaching um, to scare you into making some very big spiritual decisions. For a lot of people, baptism is a big spiritual decision, but you're really pressured into it right away. So, it's just so from right out of the gate, that's where they get you. And then
that was so interesting with what you and Anthony were talking about, how most of you guys are probably like having doubts. Like I didn't even think about that. But you are being like pressured into it, like just do it. What's the big deal? Just get baptized. It's fine.
I remember me and my husband right before we got baptized, we were like in the room and we're just like so nervous. I remember us like kind of shaking and everything. We were so nervous and we were so excited and we were just like, should we do this? Should we not do this? And they're waiting on the other side of the room, and it's all like they're expecting you to come out and do this. So you do it. And so then from there, little by little, you start having a lot of different time commitments and things like that. And then I would say right away, people make a lot of choices about their education pretty much right after being baptized. If you're a college student, a lot of times, in my case and what I have seen, a lot of people dropped out of college. And this is why I love Kanye, because he did a whole album about college dropouts. And I relate so much to it, and it's something that I still am angry about, because education is important to me and is important to my family. And I'm upset that I did not finish my college education. But there are also people who don't finish their high school educations, thinking that the world is about to end. More time for preaching. There's no time for this also affects children, because I had my youngest son. There's no time for after school activities. You need to come home from school and right away you need to get to the church so that you can go preaching. There's no time for sports. A lot of sports take place on the Sabbath day, on Saturday. So there's no time for any of that. No kind of interaction with anybody outside of the church, because the world is going to end soon. A disaster could happen at any moment. And so, like you said, we did become a little bit of a preppers. I remember a show came out, I think on National Geographic or Discovery Channel around that time. And it was the Doomsday Preppers. Do you remember that show? And it showed these extreme people who would go out. You guys know the people who would prepare and we would like that. We would have, so many cases of waters. You guys know what I'm talking about. We would carry waters everywhere we would move. And MREs, we still have some MREs and lots of flashlights and candles and food and little burners, if we needed to cook.
I think we've moved those boxes to every place you go since. And you're like, that closet is just prep stuff.
Yeah. And we've totally downsized,
But it is
good to have. Okay, guys.
Yeah, totally. You're like, I'm not going to throw it away.
However, okay, you without a doubt, 2012, you are going to heaven. The world is going to end. But before you can go to heaven, there's going to be World War III, okay? World War III is coming, and you see videos of World War II, of how awful it was, and how savage people were, right? So you're prepared for World War III. And so you go to the freaking, the closest surplus store that you can find, and the army store, and you go and you buy, $1,000 worth of supplies so that you can be prepared before it's actually time to go to heaven, because there will be a little bit of time before, nobody knows how long it could be. So you need warm, clothes. The Bible said Father's coming in the winter. So you got to prepare. We have this massive sleeping bag, and it all comes in handy now, but the purpose of buying it then, and we didn't have $1,000 to spend, so it's like you go into debt trying to prepare, because what's the point?
This is
you don't need to save your money.
This is something I've never asked you before or thought about, but Did the church ever promote like getting weapons or anything, or was that
No, so you were never supposed to have weapons.
okay? Okay,
You
yeah,
were only supposed to prepare your spiritual sword. Yeah, the Bible. Your
so they like go to the gun range once a week and like go practice. They didn't.
no, 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 no.
That's good.
That was not encouraged.
That's
Like,
good.
no,
Thank goodness for that, because that's like where it takes a turn for
no. Like they really believe that they have God's protection. So that's like all that they need.
which is so
As
funny.
far as that
You're
goes.
sleeping.
But right, but you still need food, right? You still need to prepare food and water. So that's crazy. And so then that also ties into the financial part of, not thinking that you're going to be here. So nobody saves money. Like there's no reason to save money because, there's no future. There's no reason to have a 401k, any kind of savings. There's no reason to buy property, to invest in any kind of property. There's no reason to buy a house or to own a house. That's why most of the people rent, which, then when you come out 10 years later, it puts you back financially. You have no equity. It's an impact, into your life. A lot of people go into debt, and you guys have heard all these stories from all of our people. Another thing that happens is another thing that we talked about is it affects your health, right? So nobody's eating well. Nobody cares. A lot of people gain weight. A lot of people lose weight. It seems like there are times when a lot of people gained a lot of weight, and then we talked to some of the girls who said that there were some eating disorders. Nobody's taking care of themselves. Nobody's sleeping well, and all of these are tactics, but they're all combined with this belief that the world is going to end. So it's all just sort of like a snowball effect, and it's all affecting, because when you're not sleeping, you're not making good decisions. You're not a good problem solver. You're not seeing all the sides of the thing. You're also not getting any sunshine. You spend a lot of times inside, whether you're indoor studying or preaching. You're not really outside, soaking up the vitamin D that you're supposed to get, and that's not really healthy.
Oh my gosh, I started watching Kimmy Schmidt,
Oh,
and her roommate just got scurvy
oh,
because they live like in
in
New
the
York.
dungeon.
They don't
Oh
have
yeah,
any fruit. It's really funny.
right.
It just
Oh, that
reminds me
show
of
is so good. I love that show.
it's so silly sometimes, but it's funny.
But it's
That just reminds me.
silly,
Anybody get scurvy?
no, I don't know. But it's like I like that show because it's such a serious subject, but they make it so funny.
Yeah.
You
Hey,
know,
it's our podcast.
it's so funny. Um, that also talks about like no sun. I always think about the children, and the mental health of the children,
Mhm.
because the children are also believing that the world is coming to an end, and they're not scared of that. They're not really scared of that. That's just a reality to them. But they don't really need to do the after school activities or make friends outside of school or make these different connections or learn about different things because it doesn't matter, and it's all part of the sinful world. It's not part of the real spiritual world that is in heaven. So that's very sad to me. Another thing that I personally struggle with as a mom, that raised her boys in there, is the propaganda, which will be hopefully our next episode. We're going to talk about propaganda. Like I said, we were exposed to a lot of scary videos. And what would happen is right after service, they make you stay in the sanctuary right after service to watch the videos. And it's the same with the children. So the children have to sit through the whole service and then have to stay through a whole nother video. And the videos are intense. Like there's a lot of videos of the Korean War. And like there's just this one where like a kid's mom gets shot right in front of him, and he's a toddler, and the toddler is just like screaming, and the Japanese are just going and killing all of them, and it's very graphic and it's very sad, and they showed a lot of of the nuclear bombs and stuff like that.
And like all the kids are in there with you watching this.
Yeah, and there's intense music that goes with it. They're videos that the church puts together. And then at the end, it's all like, and how can we be saved from these disasters? oh, thanks to God that we can keep the Passover, and just all this love towards God who's going to save us from all these awful things. So, um, I do think that affects a child's mind. I think that it gives them anxiety. I think that it doesn't give them a hope for a future, and I don't think that that's healthy. And I feel sad. Like I just want to cry thinking about that. But it has to be said, right? It has to be said. That's not good. And it's not just happening in this group, it's happening in groups all over the world,
Right.
right? It's happening in cults and high demand groups all over the world. And we've studied about these groups before. But I will say that in my situation, all of the children teachers that I had really seemed to genuinely care about the children, and they didn't want the children to be scared. They just wanted them to feel, that God has protected them in Zion, and protected them there.
And thank goodness, because there are so many cases of that not working out that way in other
Right.
groups that we've learned
Like
about.
Waco or, Jonestown, things like that.
Yeah. And maybe that will be another episode also where we go down that rabbit hole of abuse.
I would like to talk about like how apocalyptic beliefs started. But that could be a whole nother thing. I just wanted to share with you guys my experience of what it was like. And speaking of children, I will say that you do make reproductive choices based on believing the world is going to end. So most women choose in this group not to have children, believing that the world is going to end, believing that it's going to be a really scary time. Um, there's a prophecy about women eating their own children. Have you ever heard about that?
Mm.
About
Well,
that?
like at the end of days where they
In the last days, they talk about it that when Jerusalem was destroyed by the Romans, that there were cases of cannibalism and like women eating their own children, but that would also happen in the last days. So even I was scared of that. I was like, I will never have a baby and raise them during World War III. I imagine that. I imagine the scenario of like carrying my baby and hiding my baby and trying to feed my baby during a world war. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. And so I did not have a baby for so long, and then I was like, no, I want to have a baby, but anyway, it wasn't just me. It's a lot of people, and a lot of people make a choice to have an abortion. And a lot of people
which is
decide not
confusing.
to.
This is confusing because I'm assuming you two also pro-choice. I'm all about if you decide to have an abortion, but it gets sticky when you're having an abortion because you're being encouraged to by your religious group. That switches it up.
It's not publicly encouraged.
That's
It's
not
not publicly encouraged. It's like it's a it's a compassion that you're having for your unborn baby. You're thinking that you are doing your baby a favor. Like, why would you want to bring a child into a world that is just going to burn?
Did they ever explain it like soul-wise? Like if you have an abortion, you kick your
Everybody asks about that. Everybody would be like, well, so what does that mean in the spiritual world? If you have an abortion, then what does that mean? And then, from what I understood, everybody would just say, that's just between father and mother. Like nobody really knows.
They should, if they're going to encourage that, the incentive should be your baby gets kicked back up to heaven. They don't have to exist. They just get sent back up. Right. And then people are like, okay.
Like, I think that they're implying, this is what I always kind of believed while I was in there, is that a baby doesn't have life until it's born and like breathes that first breath.
Okay.
It's sort of what I was understanding while I was in there. I could have been wrong. And it's not something that's ever talked about. Like having an abortion is not something, or having babies, any of that is not talked about in the church. There is not a study about it. It's something that if you are going through it personally, you would go to your leader and then get advice or, pray about it. but it's something that you would personally have a feeling about because of what you already believe about the end of the world.
Okay, and that, but also you're explaining this Bible story about eating your baby at the end
Yeah.
time. So maybe it's not directly said, but it's implied.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it is
Right.
implied, right? What you're
But
supposed to.
I'm saying, like, sometimes if you go to like a mainstream Christian church, they may have like a whole service about abortion or something, or about, you know,
Oh, right,
the
right.
right, you know what I mean? But like
Was it like
that
a
is not,
yeah,
it is not a mainstream subject that would ever come up. If that was something that had to be talked about, that would be something that is done in private, in secret. If anybody was to ever have an abortion, it would be a total private thing, and they would support it if they did. They would support it if you didn't outwardly, you know. Um, but yeah, we've talked about that before.
I
But
see what you're saying. It's not like mainstream Christianity where they're like, we hate the gays and the abortions.
right,
We're gonna
it's
do what
more,
they
it's
serve.
more under, it's a more, it's kind of like, I like how Raymond explained about the racism. It's
Yeah.
not like an outward, you know, racism. It's like an underground type of
It's
racism,
like
or
Ham is racist. Like that is
right.
a racist Bible story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
The story about eating your baby is like
right,
it's pretty implied. Like, don't have a kid right now because you're in the.
right, right. So people are making reproductive choices in this group, but also in others, you know, like I have heard of a lot of different groups, you know, where they either want to have a lot of children, right? When you look at like FLDS, they
Mhm.
encourage a lot of children. Um, so there's, you know, women are really, I don't want to say oppressed, but victimized in this type of way, because you're really not allowed the freedom to make your own decision about your own family. And then that comes to the next point, okay? A main point that this church does, and a lot of these groups do because of their apocalyptic living, is they make decisions about relationships, and they change relationships, and they break up relationships, right? We've talked about that. Like, if you really think the world is ending and your family is trying to stop you from going to heaven, like really trying to stop you or trying to kidnap you, or, you know, whatever, deconstruct you, you will cut them off.
Yeah.
You will, because you know the world is going to end. You know that it doesn't matter. You know that they're being deceived by Satan. I
And
mean, you're
they're not your real family.
they're not your real family. Your beliefs are just so concrete. And you know, another thing is people are getting married, people are getting divorced. You know, believing the world is going to end. So, you know, you see a lot of the people that we've spoken with that were in arranged marriages, and it's just so sad, you know, because it's like,
They're like, sure, we'll do it.
sure, I'm only going to be here for another year, another 2 years, and
Yeah.
then they're here for, you know, 7 or 8 years, and stuck in a marriage that maybe isn't what they originally had ever wanted.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, these are people who believe in the Bible, so getting a divorce isn't necessarily an easy decision. You
Yeah.
know, of course, nobody wants to get divorced. So, and the Bible talks about divorce and how divorce is not okay. However, it's so convenient, you know, when people want to get divorced, it's okay. It's like,
Yeah.
but
As
no, the
long
Bible doesn't say that.
as long as it's like the
Adultery. I think the Bible said it's okay only for adultery, but it's like, it's crazy. It's so hypocritical.
yeah. It is so hypocritical, girl. But you can't see it when you're in it. Like that's like the main point is like when you really everything can be explained away when you have the ultimate
Right.
idea in your head.
That's why, like, when you create this reality that the world is ending, all of these things just line up. They can control everything. They can control where you live. Like, I think it was Anthony talked about how he lives so close to the church. Most of the people lived so close to the church. If you were a church leader, you either lived in the church or you lived within probably a block or two within the church. That way you could be ready no matter what happened. You needed to be in Zion when Father comes. You need to be preaching when Father comes. You need to be studying when Father comes. You better not be out in the world when Father comes. So you need to be close for whatever situation might happen. And, you know, also like they move you around a lot, you know, because the world is going to end. So we need to hurry up and plant all these churches all over the world. But because, you know, and then that goes with like breaking up the relationships and breaking up families. All of it is connected. It's just so it's mind-boggling, how you can control people with these beliefs.
Toni, I've lost track if we've already talked about this. Did we talk about like I think we already did. Why the house churches were built and why you explained it to me at the time was that when the government decides to shut down the church.
Yeah, okay. So we were
Talk about
told,
this.
I don't know, but we can say it again. We were told, not this episode, we were told about a blue law. So America has something called a blue law that says that Sunday is a holy day. And so we were always told that one day that law could be used against us because we didn't believe Sunday was a holy day. We believed Saturday was. And that technically the government could use that law against us to force us to worship on Sunday, and we would never. So we would have to be hidden kind of in. And so the best way to be hidden would to be like in house churches.
Yeah.
Instead of like big main churches, we could be hidden where we could gather in smaller groups to keep Sabbath worship.
That was always so sketch to me.
Really?
That sounds like you guys are setting up for something fucking sketchy.
Right. Well, now I can see that. But inside, because they use the Bible, they use Acts to show about the house churches, how they would gather and they would keep service in houses then.
Yeah. Which
But
in biblical times,
churches. I
that
know.
makes sense.
I know.
Right? If you lived in a little tiny village that didn't have the means to make like a big old church to worship in, you would just do it in someone's house.
Right.
And like on a small scale, it's like Bible studies. People have little Bible studies in their houses. But you guys were preparing for this like ultimate governmental shutdown. We got to have all these churches ready with all this like space so that if we needed to do worship.
But it wasn't presented like that, and not all the members were told about that. That wasn't something that would be a public sermon, I don't think. And this was a long time ago. Okay, this was like sort of when I first got baptized, but this would be more. This would be more like the leaders would have an understanding of this, and it would be sort of maybe implied during the service, and then like you would have to kind of realize it yourself, or you know what I'm saying, like come to that realization if God allowed you to see, that prophecy or whatever.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I knew about it. I don't know if that was maybe like your explanation to why you were being moved around to the houses to get them all ready. Like you would go prepare them so that if that did happen, they were ready to go. And then
it was also a convenience for the members, like, if so that they could participate in preaching, say if they live far away. You know what I mean? So they could still make it, there was a lot of different excuses about those, but yeah. And also another thing that I sort of have recently been reminded of is that a lot of these groups, and I'm not saying this group, I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm saying what I saw. I'm saying what I saw, y'all.
Yeah.
These groups do not really worry that much about breaking rules, breaking the law, breaking codes, breaking violations, because they live by a different kind of law. They live by the heavenly law. They say that. They live by the heavenly law. And so, we're going to heaven soon. So what's the point? It's okay to sort of cut corners. It's justified, right? It's justified. And so I saw a lot of times where when construction was done, there would be corners that would be cut, maybe permits that wouldn't be pulled, things like that. And it would be okay because Father's coming soon, right? And I'm talking about probably pre-2012 days, maybe some walls would be taken down that maybe shouldn't have been taken down, or certain things.
The labor of like members who are not qualified to do so. Maybe like manual labor from like whoever will do it rather than
Oh, for sure. Like we would never hire professionals for anything.
Yeah.
It would just be the manual labor of the members who, some had experience, a lot did. A lot were skilled craftsmen, 100%, and artists. Some had no idea what the hell they were doing and sometimes did damage, that probably was not safe. And also, they have this deep belief, not only that the world is going to end soon, but they have this deep belief that they are protected by God.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they physically die, they have no fear that their spirit will be destroyed. So we'd never had that fear ever. So even if there is some kind of construction disaster, nobody is afraid. Nobody is really afraid or worried.
Recklessness, an unnecessary recklessness.
And if they are, nobody really shows it because they wouldn't want to scare the other members,
Yeah.
That would be something that would be secret, only known to the top leaders if there was a really big construction problem or something. But the rest of the members would think everything is fine,
That's great.
So I think that kind of covers what life is like. It's just highly stressful. Highly, highly, highly stressful. And I think that's one of the hardest things when you come out is handling that stress, figuring out what to do with all that stress, finding out that you have a long life ahead of you. And that is also very scary because then you realize, oh shit, I'm in my 30s and I have no savings. I have no house. I have no education, and that's why a lot of people can't come out. It's very, very scary. You come out after so many years.
Yeah.
Luckily, some people can get out after a few years or just a short amount of time. And that's amazing. Some people, it is discouraging. But I'm here to say, don't be discouraged. Actually, life can get really well, really quick.
Yeah.
You
realize that it's not your punishment or your bad judgment or whatever what was the excuse they told you when you said about the money thing? It was something that you were doing wrong.
Oh, it's like your sinful nature, like something you need to overcome.
I couldn't remember that. It's not your sinful nature that's holding you back. It's because they have full access to all of your finances and all of that shit. So get out and then get started. It's good.
It's but it's weird, Lindsay, even to this day, like seeing the tragedies in Texas, the tragedies in New York and Buffalo. I mean, tragedy after tragedy. And let's be honest, disasters after disasters. Okay.
Yeah.
That shit is so triggering. And honestly, I can't really watch the news. Sometimes I want to. I love watching the news. I love knowing what's happening. But for my own mental health, I can't because it so easily puts me back in that stressful, high alert awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't live there. I cannot live in that state. I lived there for too long,
but here's the thing about that. Collectively as a country, and if we have kids, I think all parents are in mourning this week. I don't think that I'm not saying that you're not triggered because of the church. I'm saying that shit is fucking awful.
No matter for anybody. Right.
Like that's just like incomprehensible.
Right.
We don't really know where to begin because we're a divided nation and it's shitty and we got a lot of work to do as a country. And so I think that the news cycle right now is awful. And I think it's okay to feel that way. And it makes sense that your immediate go-to is to feel connected back to the church feelings. But
not that I feel connected.
I want you and I want everybody in the church because everyone who's left and is feeling that way right now, I think we all as a country are collectively we all feel like this right now. We're sad. Our society sucks right now.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I feel sad because I feel like I see everybody that I've met that has come out of this group has had anxiety or panic attacks, social anxiety, all these things. And these things are debilitating. I mean, these are real struggles. And so when you see these things, it just amplifies it, so much. And so I think it's important sometimes, even though we want to know what's going on, I think for me personally, sometimes I do need to turn it down a little bit because I don't want to think about the end of the world anymore.
Yeah. But
um,
but but it's okay. It's not the end
yeah,
of the world. You
I
know what?
know.
I try to always find like the silver lining and like the positive in things.
Yeah.
And it's devastating, but it's like we have a lot of work to do.
Mm.
And maybe if we spin that positively, it's like maybe we can make something so great out of all this shittiness.
I've
Like
met
maybe
so
in a
many beautiful
from now.
people lately. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I've met so many beautiful people lately that it gives me confidence and hope that, like, you know, we do have a lot of good ideas.
It's just
A
the
lot of
wrong
people have
people
good
in charge
ideas.
right now.
I know. I know.
Let's burn it down and start all over, baby. Let's start Hamilton. Let's play Hamilton from start to finish right now.
Right. So, how do we want to end this, Lindsay?
I don't know. That was a bummer. Not
Yeah,
the episode, just kind of our ending of just like
I think that coming out of the church and also part of the stress of it is the fact that, like, we lost so much time believing the world was going to end, and then when you come out and you do have time left, no matter what age you come out, whether you come out, in your 20s, whether you come out in your 40s or your 50s, you still have so much time left. Even in 1 year, so much can be done in 1 year. You can get your dream job. You can make a friend, a real genuine friend. You can read a really good book. Whatever you want to do, just little small things that you can do to improve your life. And then I think little by little, I'm realizing how resilient we are, Lindsay. When I hear these stories, when I hear Kelsey's story and Jordan's story and Anthony's story and Raymond's story, Joanne's story, all their beautiful stories, they're so resilient, all the things that they've been through, um, it's really beautiful. So here we are on the other side, and there is a
there's
good future on this earth. This planet is beautiful. I'm really inspired by Chad's story when he talked about healing through nature. I think a lot of us have felt like that, and Amani too. Um, Being in nature and being with animals and being with plants, that sort of brought us back to reality, that this is real. This is what we're living for right now. And we can have a really beautiful future and a
yeah,
hopeful future, right?
yeah. Yeah, all of the things that are wrong right now, the hope and the beauty in it is that there's like a space to make it better,
Right.
right? It doesn't mean, oh shit, the end is near and it's all gonna explode. It's this
Mhm.
fucking sucks right now. Let's figure out a way to make it better
Right.
so that it doesn't suck so bad.
Cheers to that. In the future, we can explore other apocalyptic groups, how apocalyptic groups really flourish and what kind of cultures they really flourish in. Things like that. I do think that's very fascinating. But we just wanted to share with you guys our sort of experience with these kind of beliefs, and we have so many exciting things coming up. We're going to talk about propaganda, and we're going to talk about some of the lawsuits that have been going on and how um, those are viewed within the church and also viewed when you come out of the church, and what kind of information is given to members and not given to members, and how the lawsuits are all happening. We're going to talk to some of the people involved within the lawsuits, so that's going to be really interesting. We've already spoken with Raymond, who won, and was able to nullify his NDA, so that was really exciting.
Yeah, thank goodness. What a
Yeah,
freaking badass.
what a badass! They're
Dude,
also
everybody,
badass.
that's what I'm learning about all of you guys is everybody who's left, everybody, I bet there's so many freaking good people in there, you know? That's what sucks about it. But everybody who's left and is like living their lives now, badasses. Super
And
cool, super smart, super lovely, very genuine. I
and
think people go in
everybody,
there with
I'm
true intentions of it being for the betterment of humanity. I really do.
right, right. They
So
see
come on
the
out and do that on the other side. We need you. Come on out because we need you in like the real world.
join the dark side.
Join us for our seminar.
Yeah.
Us.
That every person that we've met coming out, all the survivors, they are flourishing in their each one in their own personal way, whether it's in their relationships or their careers or whatever it is. Their their hobbies, they're finding things that they enjoy doing. Um, they are all flourishing. However, I do want to add that it has not been easy for them. I want to say that they have all had their struggles because these beliefs mess with them. They mess with their mind, they scare the shit out of them. And it's not okay. It is not okay because they took away our ability to make our own life decisions. And we, you know, and everybody's doing great now, but I just want to put it out there that they're so strong for what they went through, and what they overcame. That was a big buzzword in the church. Oh, you need to overcome. You need to overcome. But like, no, like we have really overcome a lot of shit. And so that's the real meaning of it. Okay, guys, we're
It's gonna suck.
redefining the words.
It's gonna suck, but it's worth it.
Mhm. It's gonna suck at the beginning, and every once in a while it's gonna suck. But it is better than being in there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, sometimes I look back and I'm just so thankful that I'm not staying up until 2 a.m, watching these terrifying videos. Maybe that's why now I like comedies and lighthearted things, and
Yeah.
some true crime and drama.
I know.
Anyway.
Handmaid's Tale is like our favorite show, whatever. We don't like
What did you say was our favorite one?
Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, I love that
I don't
one.
know that I can watch that this coming up season. How
No, listen,
are they gonna make that? How are they gonna separate that from science fiction to freaking reality at this point?
all right. So if you guys have any questions or anything, let us know. If you guys, have any comments, but we'll be back soon.
Can we make like a little announcement here?
Go for it.
Sometimes we get emails from people that may be legit
Or
or
say this.
places that may be legit, but we can't tell sometimes. And so if we ever are like ignoring you, do we want to say that? How do we say that in a nice way?
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
We are closely monitoring our interactions, our social interactions. We want to be careful, right? We want to be careful that nobody's trying to mess with us or our friends. Don't mess with our friends, yo. Don't mess with the PIT crew.
Yeah.
So, knowing what we know about what this group does, we're just hesitant about collaborating with certain people or sharing information with certain people. So, if you ever try to reach out to us and you get like kind of a guarded response, that's why.
Yeah. Not that we're like, this is definitely the church messing with us, but we're like, this doesn't feel 100%. We can't vet it. So maybe let's not like go down that avenue. It's like, no offense. It's no offense to you personally, because there have been emails that we like want to really engage in, but then we're like, there's like an element of this email tone that feels like it maybe is not, we're not really sure. So if we
we just don't know. We're just trying to be careful, y'all.
And we don't know how to do that because we have no experience in all this shit. So is that good? You want me to say that?
No, we are experienced. Did you know that I'm going to law school?
Oh, Tony's going to law school.
I should. I think I just decided right now. Why couldn't I?
Do it. Fuck yeah. Do it. I keep telling my husband to go to law school. He wants to. You guys should go together.
We should. That'd be hilarious. Oh my gosh. See, but then I'm too old. And that's where the church kills my heart, because I feel like that's the part that I just feel like so much time was wasted. But
girl,
don't worry. We can do it.
Tony, you could start fresh and be a doctor.
I don't really want to be a doctor. I'd like to be a lawyer though, and I could
if you
go after some of these.
You're still young enough that you literally could be an astronaut if you wanted.
Okay. Let's not go that far. How about president? I think I'd like to be the president.
I would love to be the president. Oh my God. Toni, I go to
Power. Power.
Dude,
I'm just
I
kidding.
daydream about what I would do as the president. I'd be so fucking good at it.
Oh my gosh.
Because I would own up to all my shit. I'd be like, yeah, there's a sex tape of me.
Oh my gosh. Hey, could I be? Well, I think I should be the president and then you could be the vice president.
No, fuck that shit. You're my VP, baby.
I don't know. We'll discuss. We'll
You can be
discuss.
my transportation
Oh
secretary.
hell no. I ain't no Buttigieg.
Get in there, Buttigieg.
At least make me like a Hillary. I want to at least like go travel. So I'll just go make everything better in North Korea.
But you're not allowed in Benghazi.
Okay. All right. On that note,
I'm just kidding, y'all.
we are way, way off track. Okay. We
So-
will see you later.
The point of that was if either of us ever run for any office, please vote for us. Because we will be totally candid about all of our shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's already out there. Well, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, can't take it back.
Can't take it back. All right. So we will see you next time. Stay safe and be kind.
Stay kind, you guys. Be extra gentle with each other this time.
Yeah. And be nice to the children. Okay. If you see them out playing, be nice to them. Give them a little wave. Be kind, I just feel like yeah, don't be like invite them to your van. Give them some candy. Have them pet your dog.
I was like, what are you telling people to do, weirdo?
I feel like people are so hard on kids, like just give them a break. It's their summer break. Let them have a fun time.
Yeah, don't expect them to be more emotionally appropriate to responses than
they're not adults. Like just let them freaking play and have a blast. And anyway,
littles.
Anyway, we will talk to you later.
We got more coming for you, y'all.
Okay. All right. Boom, baby.
Boom, baby. Boom, 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 baby. Boom.